Right, and so for our other sponsor of the show, we have Wendy Pratter at Magical Journeys Travel.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
The very beautiful looking Wendy Pratter. Is she on your to-do list? Like if you meet her in real life, you're allowed to.
She's, when you open the wallet.
Yeah.
She's the picture in my wallet.
I get you. But other than our lust for Wendy, her and her Magical Journeys are there to help you plan your next Disney vacation. So whether that's a Disney cruise or a trip to Disney World, Wendy can help you by getting your reservations at midnight, getting those all-important Be Our Guest dining reservations or meet and greets with Anna and Elsa. And I think if you quote this podcast, Craig, get a bit of a discount on your deposit, don't you?
Yeah, $25 off, yeah.
There you go. So, next time you want to book a holiday, give Wendy at Magical Journey Travels a little tinkle at wpmagicjourneys.com or on Twitter at wpmagicjourneys.
God bless Wendy and all that sail in it. I've just updated to iOS 10.2 and it looks nice.
Well, that's something we can talk about on the show.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the first separate edition, officially out on its own, like a Toblerone, of Pop After Dark, the sister podcast to to Diz and Universal After Dark. I am Nick, the Meng Chen of UK podcasts, and as always, never letting me down on this show is the one and only Scouse legend known as Mr. Craig Lucas.
So if you're Ming Chen, and I salute you, Ming Chen, am I Walt Flanagan, or am I Brian Johnson, or am I Q?
You're Mike Zapsik, clearly.
You're an asshole.
You are clearly the Brian Johnson, because
no
you
one
are
wants
the
to
glue.
be Mike Zapsik.
No one wants to be. Mike Zapsik does want to be Mike Zapsik.
Or I would have been even more insulted if you'd have called me the other fella. Get him, Steve Dave.
Who?
Get him, Steve Dave. Get him.
Oh, get him. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. I said it wrong. I said get him. I was posh.
Get him still, Steve Dave.
Although I've got a little soft spot for him.
I like him. I know he's not popular. But and speaking of not popular, thank you for listening, because we don't actually know how popular this is going to be.
Well, we do plan to have this out on its own feed. However, Apple, in its Christmas ways, if you submit a new podcast at the start of December, it's not going to get passed out until late December, and we're in mid-December now. So this wouldn't come out till January if we submitted it as a new feed. Yeah. So it will be out on Diz After Dark feed. So you're all listening to it now. But in the new year, we hope to what I'm going to try and do is put all the betas and this episode on the old feed, on the new feed.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, as you can tell, excellent planning once again. From ourselves, because that was the original plan. That this was going to be, we was going to launch the new feed. To be fair, we was going to record this episode beginning of December.
Yeah,
and it's nearer Christmas now than it's the beginning of December.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to the Feed podcast, all about podcasting. It's the podcast to get you podcasting, hosted by Lipsin and Rob Walsh, friend of the show, and that's what they said. Apple slows down every December. They all go on holiday, so good on them.
Fair play. None of that opening Boxing Day malarkey.
No.
Unless you're working in retail, of course. That's another thing for another day.
This show, we fully expect this show to drop tonight. We're going to be putting this show out. So I've just downloaded 10.2 on my iPhone 7. I've just downloaded TV OS 10.1 on my Apple TV 4. So it's always a special day in our house when a new iOS operating system drops.
It's
Whether
early
it's
Christmas, isn't it, for you?
Oh, I love it. It takes me about 14 hours to get all my Apple devices. You know, we've got about 4 iPads, 3 phones, partridge in a pear tree. You know, so it feels a lot more stable
Right.
than iOS 10.1.1, just a bit more solid. There's over 100 new emojis to mess about with. The music app's had a little upgrade. The news app's had a little upgrade. The podcast app has had a little upgrade.
Ooh.
So it's
Actually, I
only
noticed the other
it
day,
looks.
actually, our logo's still the same in the podcast app on
Oh no!
iTunes. In
Oh
in the feed, the individual episodes have got the new logo, got the After Dark Network logo. But if you
yeah.
search for us in iTunes, I believe it's still the original.
Oh,
Well,
let's have a
not
look.
like the second or third logo that we had, the pub sign.
Right. Well, I think you might have to unsubscribe because I've just searched for us, and there we are
Actually,
with the new logo.
if all our listeners could unsubscribe to Disaster Dark but immediately resubscribe to Disaster Dark, that'd be great because that does bump us up the list. So that's a good tip. Just make sure you
Yeah, do
do
it.
unsubscribe, you do resubscribe straight away. We don't want to actually lose you from this. And of course, other operating systems are available. I am contractually obliged to mention that. But I mean, I've
But the
got to be
shit.
honest. I quite enjoy 10. I quite like it. So hopefully this improves those little niggles that the original version had. But it's still
Oh, it does.
working.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
Yeah,
nice.
good stuff. Now we've actually planned this show and what we're going to talk about, but I think before we do that, there's a couple of other things that I wanted to bring up first of all. So I was very excited today. The last time I bought Star Wars was on
Mm.
VHS. Okay. Now it's been out on DVD in a few different formats, and I almost bought them on Blu-ray, except for I was holding out for the 3D editions, which still haven't come out, but I wasn't prepared to double dip. However, there is a sale currently on because there's a new Star Wars film coming out this week, and on my TV provider, which for me is British Telecom Television. They are doing a deal at the moment where all of the Star Wars films are just under a tenner for HD and about $7.99 for standard definition.
Is that
So
each?
each, yeah.
Why don't you just get them on iTunes?
I don't want them just on iTunes.
No, then you can play them on your iPad, your
No,
iPhone.
I can play them. I can play them on that on the BT. If you download the BT app, you can play them on there as well. So I'm covered for multiple devices.
Do you get all the extras?
No. I just want the films for the price I'm paying. Because the thing is, one day I do want a physical copy, but it's just as I said, I fully expect because they released the first 3 episodes of Star Wars, i.e. the second series that they made. They have converted all of those into 3D. Only 2 of them got released at the cinema. In fact, did 2 of them or 1 of them? I know Phantom Menace did. Anyway, so they have all been converted, those first 3, and there was converting being done on the
Didn't
original trilogy as well.
didn't Disney buy them in while it was all going on, so they sort of put a stop to it.
It was kind of that, and also the Phantom Menace conversion apparently was. I didn't go and see it. My brother did, and he said it was a very crappy conversion. It just seemed a bit rushed. I think it was at the height of the 3D craze, so it wasn't done very well. Apparently, episodes 2 and 3 are very good in 3D, but because they've shown those at the conventions, the Star Wars celebrations. But
Well, I've just got on iTunes now on my iPad, right?
yep.
And 2 days ago, I went and checked this.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Wars 6 movie collection in HD
Mm-hmm.
was £59.99. Now, bearing in mind we're in Star Wars week,
Mm.
i.e., we're all going to pictures at the end of this week to watch the new film. You would expect a price bump, would you not? You know, Apple cashing in on it.
I don't know. I mean, 59 quid to me. I mean, considering that I know you could buy the physical Blu-rays for that price,
Okay.
I think it's a bit high.
Well, they're now today £44.99.
Yeah, that's much more acceptable. The thing is, I know when you work it out, even at 60 quid, so say it was 60 quid, that's 10 quid a film, which is essentially what I paid today for on BT. But the difference is that you're like, when you're buying, I still look at it, when you're buying a digital format, you're just buying a file. You're not buying something physical. And therefore, I think it should be much cheaper to buy a digital copy. And if I can just walk into HMV, I would say other media outlets are available. They're not really, though, are they? Let's be honest, they've all gone. I can pay 60 quid and get a Blu-ray box set with all the features, nice little box, a bit of art, you know.
I know, yeah, but
And
don't
you get digital copies.
don't boxes do your head in?
No,
Oh, I hate
that's
boxes.
just me, though.
I'll be speaking to my wife after this recording to see if I get the green light for £45 worth of Star Wars goodness.
That's not far short of what I paid last year to go and see The Force Awakens, to be honest. It cost me 18.99 plus booking fee to go and see it at the IMAX in London each.
Wow.
Bloody worth it,
Basically,
though.
yeah.
Bloody worth it, though. It was laser IMAX 3D, yes please. And the reviews are already in for The Force Awakens, Rogue One. Now, I've got to be honest, right, because I've already got my tickets for it. I'm going to see it in IMAX on Saturday at my local cinema. I'm always excited when the Star Wars films announced and the Star Wars films coming out, and the trailers I've seen have been good, although I've not seen all the trailers on purpose. But my expectation for this one is not particularly high, hasn't been particularly high, and I was having this conversation with my friend earlier, and really just because it's not an episode.
Yeah, I agree.
However, the early reviews are in, and apparently it's knocked it out of the park.
Apparently, it's the best Star Wars since Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
A prominent podcaster told me last night.
Yeah, both of them, which come out 3 years apart, but both of them. Yeah. So I for that reason, I now my expectation is pretty high. Very excited to see it. I'm sure it won't disappoint. I think just my expectation was a bit lower because of that, but it's all good. But Star Wars isn't the only thing I want to talk about that's current at the moment. A new trailer dropped late last night here. Late last night in America and early morning here. Did you see the trailer for what was referred to as Fast and Furious 8 and is now called something else?
No, I did not.
Oh my God, as Janice in Friends used to say.
Well, she used to say, "Oh my God."
Well, yes, she used to say it like that. Like
Thank you.
Amanda, basically.
Oh my God.
I cannot believe after that whole conversation we had on the future Christmas episode, which we're obviously recording on Christmas Day live, she didn't even bother to have an eggnog latte.
Oh, this is messing with the space-time continuum now.
We're crossing the streams, and I've got no problem with that at all.
You can't talk about stuff that hasn't happened yet.
Watch me.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Look, I'm crazy, Craig. I'm crazy, and I don't care. That's how I roll. It's called. What's it called? It's not called Fast and Furious 8. It's called the Passion of the Fury. No, I'm joking. It's not called that. Because I didn't know it was going to have a name. But the trailer dropped, and yeah, it's something else. What's it called? The Fate of the Furious. That's what it's called. The Fate of the Furious. The trailer is about 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I watched it and I got goosebumps.
Why? I haven't even seen number 7.
Oh,
it laid too heavy on my heart with him dying.
It's beautiful. I will say this: when we watched, this is not a I mean, it's kind of a spoiler alert, but tough shit. You should have watched it by now. When we watched Fast Seven or Furious Seven, as it was called elsewhere, um, we were watching it, and every time there was a dramatic scene starring Paul Walker, my wife was like, "Oh, is he going to die now?" I'm like, I don't know. I've not watched this film yet.
Uh,
Just because obviously what happened to him unfortunately in real life, so she was like expecting him to be killed off at some point during the film. It's great. I mean, the Fast and Furious films are an absolute guilty pleasure of mine. Absolute guilty
did
pleasure.
did he get killed off in the film?
We have to watch it and find out. All I will say is Fast and Furious 7, as it was known in England at least, is bloody brilliant. I absolutely love it. I'm going to have to watch it again because I've not watched it again for a while, but really enjoyed it. But so this trailer today for the Fate of the Furious, it's about 3 minutes long, and when we've seen these films, because I made my wife, I made her watch them because she liked the first one and then didn't like the second or third one. No one did really, and so didn't want to watch the others. And I said, you know what? Actually, I think you'll enjoy them because they went from a street racing kind of thing to a bit more like the Italian Job or something as they went on. And every time I'd put one on, like if it was 5, 6, or 7, she'd be like, "Oh, I don't like these films." Like, we don't have to watch it. No, I'll sit through it while you've got it on. That was always her thing. And I said to her, "Look," I said, "The trailer dropped for this one today." I said, "I know you're not a big fan of these films, but have a look at this trailer." And we sat and watched it again. And she said, "I think they may have shown a bit too much, but at the same time, I'm very excited to see this film."
Oh, that's quite interesting then.
It's one of the most action-packed trailers I've seen for a long time, and there is I understand what she means. There is an element of possibly giving away a little bit too much, which trailers are guilty of. But they're not short films. I'm sure that there's still lots of stuff that we won't have seen yet. So hopefully, once you finish listening to this podcast, you go and dig out that trailer if you've not seen it already, because it's great.
And if you haven't seen any Fast and the Furious films,
Mm.
watch them in order and then go to the What Say You podcast and find the Fast and the Furious compendium episodes they produced sometime last year in conjunction with the launch of Fast and the Furious 7.
Yep.
You will see the films in a whole new light. They are absolutely phenomenal.
I love those episodes. And also, if you're listening to this and we piqued your interest talking about them as not being crappy films, actually being entertaining, you do want to watch them. There is a bit of an order to them. So actually, the correct order to watch them in, if you want to start from the beginning, is 1 and 2, then skip to 4, 5, 6, then 3, then 7.
Yeah, that's right.
It's odd. It's a little bit like This After Dark and this episode of Pop After Dark, actually, in terms of listening to them in that order. But yeah, that just I mean, it won't end the world if you don't watch them in that order, but the story's more cohesive if you do. So that's the reason for saying it. Anyway, very excited by that. Yeah, next year looks like it could be a good year for films, actually.
A good year for Disney films again, no doubt.
What's next year? Oh, we've got live action Beauty and the Beast.
There's $1 billion. There's $1 billion. Imagine if it did Alice in Wonderland type money.
See, I don't know if we'll get another live action film that does, because if I'm completely honest, and I mean the sequel.
Well, I mean the sequel, $80 million.
Because my wife won't listen to this episode. It's fine. I've actually bought that for her for Christmas. They were doing a 3D films for 30 quid deal in Humv, as well as some other retailers for Christmas, and I bought that in 3D, Zootropolis, is it called here, in
Oh, I like that.
3D, or Zootopia in the rest of the world, and also The Jungle Book in
In
3D as well.
oh,
Yeah,
two of them films are in the top three films of the year.
indeed. Yeah, and the other one's in the bottom,
Yes.
almost. But I think the thing with Alice in Wonderland, if you remember when it came out, is that Avatar came out Christmas 2009, and there was no other films that came out between Avatar and Alice in Wonderland in, I think it was the March of that year. Like, obviously films did come out every week, but what I mean is there were no big films that came out. It was all very small releases, because they know how popular Avatar was going to be, and also it was the second 3D film. So Avatar kicked off 3D, and then that was the next big 3D film. And I think it was the whole combination of both of those things, because it's all right, Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah, I
um,
like it. It's a
but
good film.
it's not. I mean, I'm much prefer the cartoon. I know it's a different story, slightly different story, but um, yeah, it's all right. I think the effects are good, and I think it's filmed really well. But you know, a bit like Avatar, I find it a bit flat in the story. But yeah, so I think it had that hype at the time that the 3D wagon train really helped push it along to almost I don't know if it broke 1 billion, or it was close to being a $1 billion film, but a massive success, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, my my guilty little pleasure for 3D is the follow up to The Wizard of Oz.
That's interesting, because our friends didn't want to go and see it in 3D, and so we only saw it in 2D, and I've not liked it enough to buy it in 3D. Except for if I see it on sale, I'd definitely buy it. But I remember watching it and thinking, oh yeah, I bet the 3D is really good in this, because there were things that bits of wood that came out of the screen and stuff like that during the storm, and I thought, yeah, I bet that's quite fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was epic. I loved that film.
I've actually got the original Wizard of Oz in 3D.
No.
Now I haven't watched it. I've never seen the Wizard of Oz, and so like
It's hard work.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've never sat down and watched it. And I think it was the 70th anniversary or 75th anniversary, and they remastered it in 3D and gave it like a limited cinema run for like about a week. And I imported it from somewhere in Europe, but they later released it in the UK as well. But I bought it just so I could watch. If I'm going to watch it only once, I'll watch it in 3D. I've got a friend that watched it and said the 3D works really well. And that's the thing. Like, some of the stuff that's converted is actually really good. If they take time doing it, the conversions are brilliant. I've got Jurassic Park, and you wouldn't have thought it wasn't filmed in 3D. It's so well done. They spent so much time making it into a 3D film. But on the other end of the scale, you get things like Clash of the Titans and stuff, which was rushed into being turned into 3D and just looks like cardboard cutouts. So I know why people hate 3D as much
I
as I
like,
defend it, but
yeah, I like 3D, but it is overrated.
hmm,
But it is, as everyone says now, the new catchphrase for the youth. It is what it is.
yeah, yeah. I think when it's done well, it's really done well. Like, it really can add, pun intended, an extra dimension to what you're watching. But at the same time, it's not. I think it can be equally as distracting. So yeah, I don't think it's for everything. I mean, Jesus, my TV will convert stuff in 3D in real time. Not very well, but it will do. But he wants to sit down and watch Coronation Street in 3D. Not everything's supposed to be in 3D, except Life. Life obviously is supposed to be in 3D. Craig, we haven't even started by asking what you're drinking.
I was drinking a cup of tea, but it's gone now.
Yeah, I'm just drinking Cherry Pepsi Max because it's pop after dark, and I always try and behave myself on that. But we did have a theme for this show, and we wanted to talk about kind of defining years.
Yeah,
I think that's how you put it, wasn't it?
it's like the year that the light bulb come on in your head and you realise what was going on around you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the first time you kissed a girl or the year you met your wife. They are defining years, obviously, but it's the year that you went, oh, hold on a minute. So for me, I was born in 1973, so I'm 43 this month. My defining year where I went, whoa, was 1984. And that year had some of the best music, some of the best films, the best football. You know, Liverpool. That was the first year for me that I took notice of Liverpool Football Club. They won the Milk Cup against Everton, and Liverpool and Everton fans are in Wembley chanting Merseyside, Merseyside, you know, and all that palaver. They went on into Rome and won the European Cup in Rome's backyard against Roma, you know. So footy switched on for me in '84. And yeah, so there you go. That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So, I mean, my year's '84. What year is it? Does it for you?
So funny enough, I think the age is probably quite important here. So I chose 1994, which it was my 11th birthday, my 11th year on Earth. I was born in 1983, so we are just around 10 years different, give or take some months.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the year. It's quite funny when I talk to people about my young days. I seem to have quite a few memories of when I was quite young, like under 10, like under 8, under 6. I can still remember certain things that happened around 4 or 5, which is apparently quite strange. When I talk to people about it, people don't remember that far back. And it's not like I can remember everything crystal clear, but there are certain things that I still remember from that age. Cartoons I enjoyed, and obviously toys and stuff like that. But I have quite distinctly clear memories of stuff like that. But 1994, it was almost 93 actually, but I think 94 was really the year when stuff started to stand out for me, I think, in the way that you described. So, yeah, that's the year I picked out. So, with that in mind, I mean, you know, I think I'd love to hear about 1984.
Well, 1984 is the year of the movie, basically. So the biggest film of '84 is box office takings. This is, and I've got no recollection of this film. This film was not on my radar. It was Beverly Hills Cop.
What do you mean it wasn't on your radar?
As an 11-year-old, that film passed.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah, of course.
It passed me by. So that grossed $234 million. However, the next 3, 4, 5 films all blew me away. And, you know, you would go down to the video shop, you would have your 10p in your pocket to play on the machine, you know, Galactico or whatever it was called, whatever shape we were playing. But Ghostbusters.
Of course, how could I forget? Ghostbusters was 84, yeah?
The original Ghostbusters, the excitement. Now, I can remember queuing up to see EastEnders, to see E.T. Now, that was 82, I think.
Yep.
I remember queuing up. I've got memories of that. However, Ghostbusters, I bought my first ever single, which was the 12-inch version of Ghostbusters, which back in them days, to get a 12-inch, it was basically the 7-inch single with a bit of a musical riff in the middle, and then the 7-inch single again. But I played that to death. Then the film come out, and I watched it to death. And when you used to have to go and put your name in the video shop. against the film, and he'd ring you to come and pick it up. We've got 3 copies in. You best get down here. Ah! So the next film, well, that grossed $229 million.
Now, just to point out as well that but at that time, with inflation, you're probably talking about, 700, $800 million plus
Yeah,
in terms of inflation. So, I mean, that's big numbers.
yeah, it's huge. So, and it just soaked into every, you're playing. I was in the last year. I was in the last year of juniors. So I can vividly remember some of the songs that we'll get to in a minute. I can remember the Christmas party in the juniors where the kids, we're in the 4th year juniors, the kids are left unattended while to have their Christmas party. And if you needed a teacher, you had to go and knock on the staff room door, and the staff room was full of cigarette smoke and all the teachers were bladdered.
And you could still get a cane, I imagine, back in '84.
Yeah, although I don't ever remember anyone getting it, but the teachers were all drunk. They were having their own Christmas party. They were, they had music playing in the staff room. It wouldn't happen now. The teachers now they're just robots, broken robots. Successive governments have bummed them, but that's another podcast. The next film, again, like, oh my goodness. I bought the book of this because that was another thing you could do, because you couldn't just get the film like you could now. You could go to pictures to see it, then it'd disappear for several months, and then it'd come out on video. So Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Galima Shatier. That's a film. I just want to point out what you were saying there about. I mean, one, you were talking about the video shop, but also what you were saying about films, because people nowadays don't know the struggle. Like now, there is I think officially it's a 12-week window. So when a film is released at the cinema, they're not allowed to release it for home release for at least 12 weeks.
Well, I'll tell you what I do when I come out of the picture house now. Whatever I've seen, I will, if I like it and I like it enough, I go straight onto my phone, straight onto iTunes, and I can pre-order it.
Yeah, and I mean, there was nothing like that. I mean, I remember, so you said about E.T., right? Now, I'm pretty sure it must have been, hang on, must have been about 3 or 4. So about 86, 87 is when E.T. got released on home video for the first time. Now, that film came out in 82, but it never got a VHS release. And I can only tell you that. I'm so confident in what I'm saying, I'm not even going to Google it or look it up or anything like that. But I'm so confident because I remember there was a big promotion with, I think, Weetabix, with trading cards, talking about the fact it was being released on video. And I remember my dad saying, "Oh, we can get it," because I'd seen it on a hooky copy that someone had recorded out of a cinema, and I had actually, they'd re-released it. And I think that's what they've done, is that every year or every other year they'd re-released E.T. at the cinema because that's how popular it was. But they never released it on video. And actually, Star Wars, similar with Star Wars, I went up to the HMV shop on Oxford Street, the world famous one, and it must have been, I don't know if it was the weekend it got released or it was very soon after it had come out. My dad took me up there to buy this video of this amazing film that I needed to see, and I had no interest in it at all, absolutely no interest in seeing it, because my dad was raving on about it, it couldn't have been cool. And he took me up there, bought this video, we went home and watched it, and for the next 52 weeks, every Sunday morning, I watched Star Wars. And then he told me there's 2 more films, but you couldn't buy them. They weren't out on video at that time, so I knew they existed, and that's all I had. I had the toys of all the other films, and no idea who these characters were. Brilliant. And nowadays, 12, you walk out of the cinema and you pre-ordered it.
Yeah, well, I've got Suicide Squad. I got it last week off iTunes, pre-order, come through.
Yeah, my Paul Dolences.
Oh, I love it. I love that film. Right, next film. I'm only doing the top 5. Well, I'll give honourable mentions to a few films that I pick out of the next few. Gremlins.
She still won't watch it, you know.
N-
She's 32 years old and she won't watch Gremlins for being scared.
Now, I've got Gremlins 1 and 2 on Blu-ray,
Mm.
and I've been waiting to watch them. I haven't seen Gremlins for probably 20 years, and I've got them on Blu-ray ready to watch with our Eve. However, Gremlins, I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, is a 15.
I think if you check your Blu-ray now, it may have been declassified.
Right,
It might now be a 12. But yeah, certainly when it first came out, it was a 15. I remember catching it on TV one Christmas in the late 80s. I don't think it's that particularly violent. There's a few bits that are a little bit, but not. It's not like a proper horror film. It's more tongue in cheek, isn't it?
I think there's a bit of swearing from what I remember.
Okay.
Not like fuck off, motherfucker. It's like shit.
Yeah, I think
You
there was
know,
a few S bombs, but that's kind of allowed. Gremlins 2: The New Batch, that was definitely aimed at a younger audience because I think that was a PG.
on iTunes now,
Mm.
Gremlins is in the horror genre and is a 15.
Oh, okay. I thought it might have been declassified.
$8.99 to buy, and
Mm.
Gremlins 2, a new batch, is a 12 and is $7.99.
Okay, maybe it was. I thought it was a PG, but maybe not. I remember
Now that,
liking Gremlins 2 a little bit more because the Gremlins had more personality in that one.
yeah.
Like you had a couple that
And
talked.
where is Gremlins 3, people? Come on, make it happen.
It was rumored a few years ago. They were talking about it, but
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to
CGI
anywhere.
Gremlins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like those films. Good choice.
Yeah. So, my iPad's just going to be haywire there. Yeah. So the top 5, I'm going to round it off with The Karate Kid, $90 million, another classic. Wank off, wank on. Sorry,
Do the
what is it?
crane. Everyone. The funny thing is, everyone knows the crane.
Everyone knows the crane.
Even if you don't know, it's called the crane. Everyone knows the crane.
And that baddie has been in something on modern telly, hasn't he?
Yes, yes, he was on something not that long ago.
He was on, that baseball fella. What's his name?
That baseball
Oh,
fella.
he's a
East,
washed up baseball.
Eastbound, Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, I'm sure he's on that.
Might well be actually. Might well be.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
and he looks the same. He hasn't aged.
Well, you know, it's quite funny you brought up Karate Kid actually because Sunday Night Live just happened in America, obviously on Saturday, with this week's guest of pro wrestlers John Cena, um, who was quite funny, and they did a sketch that was the Karate Kid.
No
There was
way.
a play on the Karate Kid for like no reason other than John Cena looks a little bit like the bad guy with the wig on. And it was quite a funny little spoof of it, actually. It was well done, but yeah, just funny. But it's still, I mean, they did a remake a few years ago, didn't they? Which did anyone
Yeah.
actually care about?
No, no. I think that was a massive flop, wasn't it? Right. Well, honourable mentions for this year. You've got The First Police Academy coming in at number 6.
Ba 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 ba.
You've got Romancing the Stone.
Mm.
Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, a classic.
They found him as well. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Splash.
When Tom Hanks started to make a name for himself.
Yeah. And that's where the Splash Mountain comes from in Walt Disney World. Purple Rain.
Yes, it's based on that film about the mermaid and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, absolutely true story. Revenge of the Nerds.
Purple Rain you mentioned, R.I.P. Prince, of course. I don't think I've ever seen Revenge of the Nerds, actually.
I have never seen Purple Rain. I see your Revenge of the Nerds, and I raise you. I have never seen Purple Rain.
I've never watched it all the way through, but I have bought it this year for obvious reasons.
Bachelor Party,
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I've seen that.
The Terminator.
Yeah, of course, the
That
original.
was that was only number 21 in the box office with 38 million.
Yeah, it was one of those films I think that became a lot more popular on video.
Yeah. Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
False advertising, of course.
Yeah. The Last Starfighter.
No, I've seen bits and pieces of that. Never watched the whole thing.
A classic, Cannonball Run 2.
Hmm.
Pinocchio, a reissue, 26 million.
Yeah, and that's another thing actually. I'm glad you mentioned that because again, Disney films never used to get released on video, and the only way you could see a Disney film was either on the telly at Christmas, pretty much, or if they re-released them at the cinema, and that was
Now
it.
you've got to think. Splash was about the only Disney film, is it?
Mm.
But that's not even. It's
Well,
BV. It was
was
BV in the
Buena, Vi-
studio,
Buena Vista. It
which was owned by Disney.
Yeah, it was a Touchstone. If I remember rightly, it was a Touchstone release, which was the studio that was the adult studio. So all of the not so kid friendly films. I mean, Splash isn't like an adult film. You know, it wasn't like a 15 or anything. It was only a PG, but you know, it wasn't really a kiddie film. It was aimed more at adults.
Well, Pinocchio was reissued by Buena Vista as well.
Right.
Muppets Take Manhattan,
Okay.
TriStar.
Yep.
So it's not you think of Disney now, and of the top 10 films this year, I think they own 7 of them, maybe even 9, 8 of them.
But see, the thing is, it was the 80s. There's a really good documentary,
Yeah.
which I don't think you can buy it here. I don't think it's ever been released here, but you can buy it from France, which is where I bought mine from. And it's called Waking Sleeping Beauty. And Waking Sleeping Beauty is about Disney in the early to mid 80s. And it was at a time when the studio was at a real low. There were talks of people trying to buy Disney out. They hadn't had a hit film in a long time. And it's when Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg came into power, and also Roy Disney took more of a charge there, and that was a turning point, and they basically had a window of opportunity to turn Disney around before it would be bought by somebody else because it wasn't doing very well. And you see what happened, how they did it, and really it was the Little Mermaid that changed the fortunes
Yeah.
around. You had a few films like Basil did okay. The Black Cauldron was a bit of a flop. It was too dark. But Basil was quite successful, and then Oliver and Company was also fairly successful. But it was only when the Little Mermaid happened that their fortunes turned around, and that film almost single-handedly saved Disney. And then, of course, you had Beauty and the Beast, and we'll come on to what happened afterwards because that almost goes into my year.
Right. Well, I'm going to cross over to music. I'm going to move it on. So, what was the number one biggest seller
Single?
in '84? Single, yeah. I'm not doing albums. Single.
I would guess that it would have been Band-Aid.
No, Band-Aid only come in at, where are you? Number 19. It was Christmas number 1 that year.
Yes, you know why? I know why. Because it was only released at the end of the year.
Yeah. So the number 1 was Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Relax.
Relax. Now, as an 11-year-old boy, I sang that song. I rejoiced at it being banned by Radio 1. I did not know why it had been banned, because I didn't know about When You Wanna Come.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the charts, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Two Tribes.
Yep.
Now, If you scroll down, number 34 in the charts for that year, The Power of Love, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They were massive.
It's quite funny because they
And
never,
Scouts.
well, that as well, but they never really, that seems to be the three big hits, didn't it? After that, they didn't really have much of a success.
They had 4 hits. The last one was Two Tribes, which I had on 12-inch. When Two Tribes... Oh, no, that's number 2. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Which was... Oh, come on. They had 4 hits. They had 4 number ones. Frankie... But in that year, they only had 3. Okay. Let's do some homework. We'll do some homework on that.
Okay.
But you've got Stevie Wonder, I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Mm-hmm.
Lionel Richie, Hello, Is It Me? Ghostbusters, number 7 in the charts for the year.
Now, do you know about Ghostbusters in that it actually ripped off and was found to have ripped off a song by Huey Lewis and the News?
I've heard it, yeah, but I can't remember. You'll have to remind me.
I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Oh, he's right then, boss. 99 Red Balloons, do you remember that?
Well, I remember both versions because
Yeah,
originally it was a German song, wasn't it, by Lana?
Yeah.
And it was 99 Luftballons.
Yeah. Paul McCartney. Now, this was the year
Well,
of Paul McCartney's last ever UK number 1. Because he hasn't had a number 1 since. And that was Pipes of Peace. He's had a number 1 every decade he's been a recording artist, apart from the 90s, the O's, and this. So this was his last one, Pipes of Peace. But he also did No More Lonely Nights, Never Be that one. And unfortunately, you know where I'm going with this.
Boom, boom, boom.
My
That I loved that. I had, and understandably, because you got to remember that I was, I was 1. So I remember my parents bought on video the Frog Chorus because it was part of a Rupert the Bear cartoon.
Yeah.
The Frog Chorus. So it was like a 20-minute short, and that was part of the video. And I was obsessed with the song and that video. Yeah.
Classic.
But I never realised, obviously, at that age that, Paul McCartney and the Beatles and who the Beatles were and anything. So to me, it was just a fun song. I didn't realise that it was, from royalty and was at the low point of their career.
I had no idea that Paul McCartney was a Beatle until the late 80s. I bought George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You in 1987, and I bought the Cloud 9 album, and I read on the sleeve it said, I'd like to thank John, Paul and Ringo, and I still didn't join the dots. Honest to God.
And you're a Scouser, so you should, that should have been the first thing taught to you, surely, who the Beatles were.
True story.
Yeah.
True story. So that's the music. Now, I mean, there's one special song, and I've got phenomenally good memories, and there is some video footage that I can't get access to because of warring families and stuff. But in my nan and granddad's Christmas, New Year's Eve, 1984, Russ Abbott, What an Atmosphere playing.
Oh, what an atmosphere.
Yeah. Now that it didn't get in the top 100 songs. However, go and search the video on YouTube. It's absolutely stunning. Russ Abbott is absolutely a legend. The song, I can remember being in my nan and granddad's house, mine sweeping with my cousin. We were going around getting empty cans of whatever the ale was back then, whether it be bitter, lager, and putting it into a measuring jug, and then just drinking out the measuring jug. Absolutely brilliant. And that song, I just remember that song. I remember Relax playing. Just what a boss. So there you go. Best year ever.
Was there any Wham in that list, by the way?
There is several Wham, yes.
Wham,
Let's
bam,
have a look.
I am man.
Let's have a look.
Was that Wham
Wham
Wham? That was
had
Wham Wham.
3. They
Okay.
had the number 10, Freedom.
I don't want your freedom. Yep.
11, Wake Me Up Before You Go. I'm in the bed. No. And then number 41, which was Last Christmas. So that must have come out again at the end of 84.
It did, because it was held off the top spot by. Because I think a lot of people assumed it was a Christmas number 1, but it was held off the top by Do I Know It's Christmas.
Yeah. And it was a double A side, Everything She Wants.
Oh, I don't know that one.
No idea. But George Michael, strangely enough, is at number 5 with Careless Whisper.
Yes.
So, what's the story there? Did he break Wham up, or did he just release something on his own?
Wham was still together at that time. It was just a single release. It was a song that he. Now again, I'm not even going to look this up, but if I remember rightly, it was based on a song. Sorry, it was based on a piece of music he heard in a lift. Now, when you listen to it now, that does sound like lift music that you used to hear when you was a kid. So that makes complete sense. And he just wrote lyrics around this tune that he had. But it was a song that he wrote when he was pre-Wham. But yeah, I'm not sure why it was released as a solo record completely. But no, Wham was still together at that time.
Okay, do you remember Lamar? Yeah. Never Ending Story.
Oh, that Lamar.
Oh,
Never Ending Story.
Do you remember that?
I do, unfortunately. And yet I've never seen the film all the way through.
One of the best stroke worst films ever made.
Yeah. What was
Dark?
What was the dragon called? Falcor?
Something like that.
Falcor. Yeah.
I've just found another one. Oh God, It's Raining Men. Hallelujah, it's raining men.
That is only 1984. That's amazing.
The Weather Girls.
Weather Girls, yeah.
2 tons of fun. Now they'd have gastric bands, wouldn't he? And it's raining. What would they be raining now? It wouldn't be raining men.
I don't know. Would it be now?
It'd be like sexual neutral, whatever, metrosexuals or whatever they're called.
Gender fluid or something.
Yeah. It's raining, nothing in particular, and he holds a goal. Yeah, so that's ZZ Top, Give Me All Your Lovin', Footloose, Sade, Your Love Is King. Yeah, classic year. Wow, what a year.
It does sound like a good year for music, actually. I'll give you that. So the other thing we wanted to look at was toys.
Yeah, okay. The top toys of 84 was Trivial Pursuit, Transformers action figures.
That was the... I think Transformers... I think Trivial Pursuit was a year or two earlier than that. But Transformers definitely was 84.
In 84, it reached its zenith and then spread overseas into 26 countries. So it exploded in 84. It probably out before that.
I think it was a Canadian game originally, so yeah.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yep.
And G.I. Joe action figures, which this must be an American because I don't think they'd be. And I can remember these because we had some. My brother had them. Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yeah.
He-Man, Skeletor, She-Ra. And what did he shout?
I have the power.
By the power of Grayskull.
And, what was that one you just said before He-Man?
She-Ra.
No. Sorry, before you said the He-Man action, Master of the Universe. So G.I. Joe. So
Oh, G.I. Joe, yeah, yeah.
G.I. Joe, we had over here as Action Force.
Ah,
And we didn't have all the toys, but we had a lot of the toys. But for some reason, it was Action Force, because we had Action Man here, didn't we? But
yeah,
In America, it was GI Joe.
yeah.
Same
So,
toy lines, but different companies made them in different countries.
so they're the top
Nerd
five
alert!
toys. Oh, fantastic. And
And were you still playing with toys at that age?
no,
Okay.
my brother was.
Mm.
Transformers, you could get away with Transformers because there was a bit of thought involved in them.
Mm.
I can remember having what's the baddie in that
Megatron.
Megatron? We had a Megatron gun each
Yeah.
because that's what he turned. I don't know what he turns into now, but back then he was a gun, wasn't he?
I can't remember in the film, but I know in the cartoons he later turned into a tank rather than a
Right.
gun. But yeah,
Yeah,
the original toy was a gun. Yeah.
we had a gun, and it was a cracking gun as well. It has electric batteries in. You could fire them, pew pew, and all that. Yeah, I think it was his legs with the barrel of the gun.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So that concludes my 1984, the best year of my young life. Um, I've been thinking about it, and there's all little things coming back into my head. Like I went to Longmore Lane School. I can remember sitting in the playground with William Fitzgerald, and him saying, "I can't wait to have sex with a girl," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, you stick your willy inside it and wee."
Oh wow.
Can you imagine that now?
Well, I mean, I mean, this isn't really my story, but I remember like going out with a girl. This is a few years after my year of 1994, so it's probably about 1999, 2000. And girl I was with used to buy those crappy teenage magazines like Just 17 and stuff like that. I can't remember what the others were called. I think they're like stuff like Sugar and Bliss and crappy names like that. But anyway, so they were like these teenage girly magazines where they started to be a little bit controversial and start talking about that kind of more adult stuff before you got to read Cosmo and stuff like that. And there was a problem page. It was like a letter page.
Yeah,
I'll never forget this one because I think I took it to the loo. I think I was like, I knew I was going to be a while, so I was like, I'll take that in for reading material. That's a bloke thing for women. If you don't know what that is, that's what blokes do. And I'm reading the letters page, and I was howling at this thing, and I was like, Claire, you've got to read this. I took it back to show her, and like it was a letter page, and it was like, dear whoever the agony aunt was, I don't know what I've done wrong. My boyfriend asked me to give him a blowjob, and I blew on his penis, and he started laughing at me, and now everyone at the school is laughing at me. Please help.
that's weird, isn't it?
It just cracked me up. Just really, really cracked me up. But I suppose it's a stupid name for an act. You know,
Yeah.
that term doesn't actually refer really to what you're doing. So, there you go.
Hey, Diz After Dark listeners. I want to invite you all to join us over on Scare Zone, Halloween Horror Nights podcast. Scare Zone is a news, interview, history, and commentary podcast all about Universal's premier Halloween event. It's hosted by fans and experts like me, Logan Sekulow, former WWE superstar Scotty 2 Hottie, and Diz After Dark's own Chris Ripley. Subscribe however you get podcasts and head over to scarezone.com for more information. We here at the show are proud supporters of Diz After Dark. And remember, keep your eyes closed and your ears open on Scare Zone.
Anyway, so yeah, when talking about mine, I also went for the year of 1994, and I chose that year because I'd always been interested in films when I was younger, and I still am to an extent now. But music was something that I kind of I liked, but I wasn't really obsessed with, and I just used to kind of listen to whatever was on Capital FM which is a London was a London only music station, and now is a national radio station. It plays all kind of pop music, and so I like things like Eurythmics and who did Solid? Ashford and Simpson. Solid by Ashford and Simpson, and Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac. Very poppy songs like that of the 80s. And I used to have like a mixtape that my parents made of stuff like that, and Stand By Me. But 1994 was the year that I started to kind of get my own interest in music, might find my own thing. And it really started, and this is odd in a way, because of a guy called Kurt Cobain shooting himself in the head.
Was that 84?
94.
Sorry, was that 94?
1994. So
Wow.
I remember reading it in the paper. Now, I'd heard of Nirvana, but I hadn't heard any of their music. I didn't know that much about them. I just knew that it was a quite famous band. And I remember reading this in like the newspaper that he'd shot himself, and I was like, oh wow. Like, it was the first kind of celebrity death that I was really exposed to, I think, or certainly the first one that I could kind of remember. And I had this morbid curiosity to find out what the music was like. And I remember going and buying Nevermind, which was their kind of breakthrough album. It wasn't their first album, it was their second, but it was their breakthrough. And it had an explicit tag on it. And the local music shop was like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about that. You know, I'll sell that to you, no problem. Because it was a kind of warning. It wasn't like you had to be a certain age. So he just wanted me to go and listen to the album, which is great. And I loved it. And that started my interest in rock music.
Well, that album, Nevermind, I only listened to about 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
And I listened to it several times, and it's one of my favourite albums now.
It's a fantastic album. Absolutely fantastic album. He was a real talent. And to be honest, I don't think although they had some other good songs, I don't think any of their other albums, of which there was only like 3 anyway, proper albums, none of them lived up to that breakthrough. But every track on that album, I think, is phenomenal. And that was 91, so like 25 years on, still a great album. Still a great album.
So it come out in 91, but you didn't...
I didn't experience it until 94.
94, yeah.
But that, as I said, that started making me listen to more rock music and kind of getting into that. And at that time, MTV was based in Europe. So nowadays it's barely a music channel, but in the late 80s and early 90s, or mid 90s, it was a European music station. Yeah. And across Europe, rock music was more popular than it was in the UK, where it was still more pop on the radio. So I started watching MTV all the time and listening to all these amazing American bands and European rock bands and kind of get into that. And it's where I discovered Green Day. And they released Dookie in 1994. So it all comes around. And Dookie, again, is a phenomenal album. I was obsessed with it. That one I got from HMV, and I had to get my dad to buy it for me. They wouldn't sell it to me with an explicit tag. But another great album, and Green Day have never been better. It was a real pop punk album, and whilst they've had more popular songs and they've become a bigger band, that album is the best of their career, and I'll argue that all day long. I'm not a fan of their newer stuff, but that wasn't the only big song in 1994. So I'll kind of do what you did, Craig. Okay. What do you think was the biggest song in 1994?
Now, bearing in mind, I've just started seeing Kerry in 93. I've started on the railway in 93. It's the year I've met Mr. Miller, my life partner, in 94.
Your
September.
life?
My life. So that's the, I'm 20 at this point, about to be 21. It's the year of my 21st birthday. I should know what the big songs were. And when you say it, I'll be like, is it Saturday Night? Daddy did that.
Saturday Night is number 2.
Oh, That's not bad then.
Very good.
It's something like that. I think it's a dance, some sort of dancey track. But yeah, go on.
Number 1, and I believe still the record holder for most weeks at number 1.
Wet, wet, wet.
Love is
I
all around.
feel it. Oh, now that has got to fast forward to 1998 when me and my wife tied the knot. I had one job to do at our wedding. She had done everything else. I had one job, and that was to speak to the DJ for our wedding song to be I feel it in my fingers. I feel it. He did not have it.
Oh.
The biggest song of the 90s, arguably, to date, apart from like Candle in the Wind and all that, but he did not have it. We ended up with, and oh my God, I can't remember what our wedding song was. Isn't that horrific?
It is, because I'd be crucified if I didn't know.
I know what oh God, I'm going to have to text her.
It wasn't I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by U2, was it?
No.
That was my suggestion for our first dance, and it was shot down.
Oh God. It was, I don't know if it was that one by the three of them. For the Three Amigos, not the Three Amigos,
Three Musketeers.
I'm sure it was the Three Musketeers one.
Which, ironically enough, is in the top 20, top 30 of this year, which was All for Love by Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and Sting.
Yeah, classic song that, mate.
Yep. Classic song from a not very classic movie.
Yeah. So go on, carry on surprising me. Was
okay.
My brain's gone numb now. Go on, carry on.
No, what was you going to say?
No, I can't remember.
Okay. So, number 1 was Wet, 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 Love Is All Around. Wakefield number 2 was Saturday Night. Now, 1984 sounded like a good year for music, right? I am going to just run down this list. I'm gonna go quite far, because these are all almost amazing songs, okay? So, we then have I Swear by All For One.
Oh, do you know what? I've just texted Kerry. What was our wedding song? Do you know what she's replied?
Divorce.
Can't remember.
I used to be rubbish on Mr. and Mrs.
Oh.
So number 4 for that. So you know I Swear, yeah? I swear by the moon and the stars in the sky.
It had Man in the title, she said.
Man, brilliant. Or was it Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain?
No. It had Man in the title.
Next we have Pato Banton.
Oh my God. Oh, what was that?
Baby Come Back.
Oh, it's not even a real song.
Do you mean it's not even a real song? It had both the Campbells from UB40 on it for a start, so that's a lie. What's his name? Brian Cox. When he was before he was looking at stars and talking about universe, he was singing with D Ream and Things Can Only Get Better.
Oh, I love that song.
Bon Jovi had Always. Mariah Carey, Without You. One hit wonders pretty much let loose with Crazy for You. This would have been a phenomenal Top of the Pops episode. The Sign by Ace of Base. Dupe by Dupe. The Most Beautiful Girl in the World.
Oh, I bought that for my wife.
I Like to Move It by Reel to Reel featuring the Mad Stuntman.
I love that song.
Baby I Love Your Way by Big Mountain. A far superior cover than the Peter Frampton original, in my eyes. Chakademus and Pliers, Twist and Shout. Yusa Nodor and Nina Cherry, 7 Seconds.
This is a weak year.
China Black, Searching. Tony DeBart, The Real Thing. Corona, The Rhythm of the Night.
This is the rhythm of. Oh, yeah, that takes me right back to Lanzarote.
Bruce Springsteen with The Streets of Philadelphia.
Oh, God, what a film that was.
Christmas #1 that year.
94, let me guess. It is E17. Baby, if you gotta go away,
You know that.
don't think I can take the pain.
Baby D with Let Me Be Your Fantasy. Regulate by Warren G.
It's a shit year, that.
What? Stay I Missed You by Lisa Loeb.
That is a shit year.
Sure
What?
by Take That. By Crash Test Dummies.
Oh, God, what a classic.
See? There's some great songs this year. Don't Turn Around by Ace of Base. Crocodile Shoes by Jimmy Now.
Oh, Jimmy Nail.
Babe by Take That, apparently.
Take that, yeah. They were massive then. They were just exploding on.
They were. And of course, who can forget? And I think this was actually the first CD single I bought by PJ and Duncan, aka Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Let's get ready to
And this was
rumble.
also the year of Jungle. So we had Incredible by M-Beat and General Levy.
No.
And Sophie Hawkins with Right Beside You. It was a great year. It was a great year.
It was an average year.
And also, it was when Blur had their first big hit with Girls and Boys.
Girls who like boys, you like boys, you like girls, you like girls, you like boys, you like boys, you like girls. Always should be someone. Yeah, classic.
Now,
Boss album.
I was a Blur man. Park Life was the first indie album I bought about the same time as I was getting into rock. So, although I liked rock, I also loved indie, and so Blur was the gateway to me for that. I never liked Oasis until much later on, but
Blur were before Oasis, weren't they?
yeah, but Blur's first album was 91, and Park Life was 94.
Yeah.
And that's when they started to break through. But Oasis didn't. Oasis, their debut was 94 as well.
I was late to Oasis. And when I say late, it was obviously their massive album, which was the second one, wasn't it? Which was
What's the Story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I bought, because they released What's the Story, Morning Glory, and The Great Escape within a couple of weeks of each other, and I bought I bought The Great Escape. My dad bought What's the Story, Morning Glory, and I listened to it, but I dismissed it because I was so much of a Blur fan. Whilst if I go back and listen to them both now, I think What's the Story is a better album overall. But I've always got a soft spot for Blur, and they were my indie band of choice at the time, definitely.
Yeah, Blur blew my socks off. Oasis come later. I remember getting Be Here Now in '97 and decorating the house that I'm living in now. This was our first house. Decorating the house with that album on repeat all day, full volume. Absolutely phenomenal album. Yeah, so
that was music in '94 pretty much. I'm going to talk about films. Now, obviously, we've already talked about Wet, 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 so that means that must have been the year that Four Weddings and a Funeral came out, which it was.
Yeah.
But although it's on the list, I'm not going to go through because I've got a list here of the top 100 movies by rating, not by financials. So who cares about that? Because does anyone remember Three Colours Red? No. But 94 was the year of The Lion King.
Oh.
Which was phenomenal. Pulp Fiction also came out this year, which was, although I was aware of Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction was everywhere. That poster of Uma Thurman.
Did you get to watch it as an 11-year-old?
No, because it didn't come out on video till about a year or two afterwards. But I think I watched Pulp Fiction. I think I was about 14 or 15 when I watched Pulp Fiction. I didn't watch it all that young. But Yeah, and I think I watched Reservoir Dogs around the same time actually. But I've always liked Pulp Fiction. I've always enjoyed that. Speed, which I did
Never
see.
seen it.
Never
Never
seen
seen
Speed.
it.
It's really good. It's really good. If he hadn't made John Wick, it would have been Keanu Reeves' best film. Um, Ed Wood came out this year. The Madness of King George, a little film which flopped. So going back about videos and how important videos were, like home video releases were for films, this is a prime example. The Shawshank Redemption,
Oh, what a film.
a complete bomb when it came out of the cinema. Complete bomb. But did phenomenally well on home release. A certain Kevin Smith started his career this year
Clerks.
with Clerks. That was 94.
Yeah.
But I think the year actually belonged to Jim Carrey.
Oh, The Mask.
The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, and I think, Ace Ventura as well came out in 94.
Ace Ventura is basically the worst film
What?
I've never seen.
What do you mean it's the worst thing you've never seen?
It just looks shit.
No.
It's
Ace
one of them.
Ventura is brilliant.
It's one of them where it looks like shit. It smells like shit. It tastes like shit. It must be shit.
No, I will fight all day long. Ace Ventura is one of his best. It's much better than it has any right to be. It shouldn't be anywhere near as funny. And I put it down mostly to his performance more than anything else. But no, it's actually great. Ace Ventura 2, by the way, not very good at all. That doesn't hold up very well. But Ace Ventura 1 is actually pretty decent. The Santa Claus came out this year.
Classic.
As did True Lies. I think one of Arnie's better films. Big fan of True Lies. A little film called Forrest Gump.
Oh, beautiful.
Came out this year. Captain Kirk died because it was Star Trek Generations.
No.
Yeah.
I thought that was later. You see all these films that you're rattling off. I was taking my wife to the pictures to see them.
Wow, okay. The Flintstones came out this year.
Oh, one of the worst films ever made.
No, I mean I've seen some. It's not a good film, I won't say that, but it's not one of the worst films. I mean, look, production-wise, it looks great. It looks exactly what you'd expect a Flintstones film in real life to look like, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't very good. Stargate came out this year. Time Cop, the Flintstones. Just that. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
So isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Bit of synergy.
Yeah, except Beverly Hills Cop 3 is a load of shit compared to Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. And also, it's not on this list, but I know it came out in 1994. It was the first 12 film I saw at the cinema. It came out in 95 in the UK, but in 94, Street Fighter the movie was released.
No way.
Yeah, which is tosh. Let's be honest. That is tosh. Yeah, so that's not a bad year, is it? That's a pretty good year. You know what I mean?
Well, like I say, I did a lot of neck into them films.
Philadelphia as well came out that year.
That was
right on the list.
Have you seen that film?
I think I saw it around the time it came out, but I don't know since. And I probably understand it more now.
A heartbreakingly dark movie. Oh, it's a horrible subject matter and a horrible, just a dark film. Yeah. When you think he'd done Forrest Gump that year as well.
Oh, he was on fire.
Yeah.
Really, when you look at it like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good actor. That's good actor. His wording is phenomenal. It is. It's a great role. But yeah, so that was that. Now, we talked about toys, didn't we?
Yeah.
So this year, so one of the toy lines that was expected to be a massive hit and wasn't really. There was a line called Street Sharks.
No.
Now, obviously, we had Turtles in the late 80s and early 90s, and I was the prime age for Turtles. So I had He-Man and Thundercats, but Turtles Mania I was about 6 when that hit. So I was all over it. And of course, because they were successful, they thought, oh, well, if we just mutate some other animals, that will be successful as well. So Street Sharks was one such attempt. Another one was Biker Mice and Mars. That was another one. Of course, none of them were as successful. But
Was that a cartoon?
Biker Mice and Mars,
Yeah.
they both were actually. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
Biker Mice and Mars was. But what is the reason why I brought up Street Sharks especially is because there is a great video you can find it on YouTube of them selling. It was a trade show, so I want to say like it was like the New York Toy Fair or something in '94. And I've been to toy fairs before, like for press reasons, and it's great. You go to like the toy companies' stalls, and they show you all the toys that are going to be the next big thing for like the following Christmas, and you get to see toys from new films and stuff months and months before they get released to the public. And there was one for this year for Street Sharks by Mattel, and the person on the video demonstrating the Street Sharks and how cool they are is an actor that became known as Vin Diesel.
Oh, that is weird.
And it is a cracking video. It's not his earliest role either, because he's also in Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. But that, like, you actually hear him talking that, and it's quite something watching him play with Street Sharks. So look for that on YouTube. But '94 was the year when people grew out of Turtles and grew into Japanese kung fu sci-fi shows, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers became a phenomenon. Became massive. Now it launched, I think, in late '93, but we got it in '94, and it was
Now,
everywhere.
was that on like every morning
Mm.
or on ITV?
No, if I remember rightly, I don't think it was in the mornings, but I think it was in the afternoons on Sky One.
Right.
But I was, at 11, a bit like you, I was a little bit too old to play with toys. So I was banned from getting Mighty Morphin Power Ranger toys. But my friend, who was the same age, got all the they got the Megazord for Christmas and got some of the action figures. And it was amazing. As you would say, Craig, it was boss. It was a great toy. And I used to enjoy it, going around there and being able to play with it. And about 2 Christmases ago, I finally got one. They re-released the toys for like the 20th anniversary, and I got my own Megazord for Christmas that year.
No way.
It was a smaller version. It wasn't quite as much fun, but it was still good. So Power Rangers was everywhere. X-Men the animated series was really popular, as was Spider-Man. Had not long had a cartoon out. That was really good as well. Batman was his cartoon, that was still popular. And I was still into my wrestling, so it was, I think, the last year for Hasbro's, which were the defining wrestling toys. Everyone had Hasbro WWF figures. Even if you didn't like wrestling, someone would have bought you one for a birthday or Christmas. I don't know anyone that didn't have at least one Hasbro wrestling figure that was the right age. I mean, you'll probably excuse me that, because you would have been too old by that point for anyone to still bought you toys. But yeah, they were like a massive thing. So
Yeah, I mean, I was, like I say, I was 20. I was in a full-time job. I just started on the railway. I was in the first 18 months of my, I'm still there now with my wife, and everything you've just said there is basically alien to me.
yeah, I mean, you must be aware of it from a name point of view, possibly, but you'd have no kind of frame of reference from watching those programs.
Yeah.
I suppose. So, whilst I still go into toy shops now, I would still go into toy shops without the kid before I had kids, because I've always loved toys. Uh, that's my Arrested Development, I think. But it looks less suspicious now. I've got kids. It's easier.
I've literally, I've just been looking on my iPad for looking on apps, typing in some of the things that you're saying just to see what was there, and basically couldn't find anything worth. But what I have, this is breaking news for Disney, right? This is Disney breaking news. You know, the Disneylife app,
Yep.
the much maligned and hated £9.99 a month Disneylife app. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The price has been dropped to £4.99.
Wow.
Right? Now, what I'm about to say next, will make you shit your pants, because I had this app for 2 months, tried to use it, it was unusable, tried to AirPlay it to my Apple TV 4th gen, and it would work, but it would drop out every 5 minutes or so. So I'm trying to watch 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I've never seen. Oh, what's that? Disney Classic, bang, boom, couldn't watch it, unwatchable. They have now got an Apple TV app. So not only is it £4.99 a month, it is now on your 4th gen Apple TV.
So the question is, what have they dropped? Have they stopped giving away apps?
Right. The biggest Disneylife update ever is here, just in time for Christmas. Unlimited Disney Magic, movies, TV and more. What's changed? For the first time on Disneylife, watch live TV streaming direct from the Disney Channel. That wasn't on Disneylife.
No, it wasn't.
Disney Junior and Disney XD. You can now enjoy Disneylife on even more platforms, including Apple TV. There are that's on top of all the features you know and love.
Well, the features we know and love, but it didn't work.
Yeah, so description: Disneylife, unlimited Disney Magic, movies, TV, books, music, 3 live Disney channels, all together in one easy subscription. Try it free for 7 days, no contract, no strings. After that, just pay $4.99 a month. Experience all of the following: the biggest collection of Disney movies on digital subscription, live TV, unlimited downloads you can watch and go, a digital library of audio books, 10% discounts on the Disney Store, built-in parental controls, Disney music, sing-along as well, Disney characters, worlds and fun facts. So there's no mention, hundreds of movies, thousands of TV episodes, popular Disney character worlds, music from the films. Before you download Disneylife, a few things you need to know. Not stream. No, there is no mention of apps.
They must have got rid of the apps, because that was the thing they kept harping on about. Oh, you can download a free app.
Yeah, the apps are shit.
Yeah, overpriced. Well, I mean, that at least makes it more palatable, because I've got to be honest, last night I looked at, because I used to watch a lot of American Netflix. Before they stopped people using VPNs. And which I thought was a cheek, really, because I pay my subscription. Why can't I watch Netflix where I want? But anyway. And I just had a quick look on there last night. I couldn't watch anything, but just to see what their content was. And they've got The Jungle Book on there. They've got Zootopia on there. They've got Captain America Civil War from Christmas Day on there. Because in America don't have Disneylife, as we said the other week. So the deal with Netflix is awesome, and they have nearly all the Disney shows on there as well. Not streaming live, but you know, the box sets of whatever. So it just makes it look like such a good thing. So I think by reducing the price, you know, they had to do something.
It must be hemorrhaging. It must be coughing up blood, and it must be on its way out, mustn't it?
It could be the last throw of the dice.
Yeah.
It could be the last throw of the dice. I think the problem is they stuck all their eggs in the Sky basket, and if they didn't, then we'd have Disney on Netflix. But because that's what they did, that's why they've had. The only other thing they could do was start this, and also as well, unless things have changed, everything that's on Disneylife is only stuff that they've stopped showing on Sky. So therefore, at the moment, Zootopia or Zootropolis, whatever it's called here, is going to be released on Christmas Day on Sky Movies, and that means that you won't get that on Disneylife for another 12 months.
Ah, right, okay.
Because they'll have the rights for it at first. So you don't get all the Disney stuff. You only get the stuff that they're allowed to put on the app. So, but still, $5 a month for like some of the older classics. It's not too bad. Might be worth having a look at again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm signing up to it as we speak because it's it's worth doing, isn't it? Just to give it a go.
Why not? We can talk about the next pop.
Yeah.
So, is that it for this episode? I think that's about all we wanted to cover, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
We've been going for a good old time now. I don't want to, I'm very conscious of the fact that I talk about how long podcasts are and trying to keep them under 2 hours. We're an hour and a half. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Look, a little bit long.
Our little listeners love us.
I hope so. Well, give us some feedback. Review us on iTunes. Drop us an email at disafterdark@gmail.com. Comment on our Facebook page. Harass us in the street. Throw a brick through Craig's window. Whatever you want, just let yourself known.
We haven't got windows, to be honest.
Oh, well, no, you probably haven't got them anymore. No, that's true. You can throw them through mine, and I've got windows. But yeah, so thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I suppose we should wish our listeners a Merry Christmas, Craig.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully the After Dark podcast will get bigger and better. Next year, 2017, it's going to be the best year ever.
Yeah, we said that this year until Bowie and Prince and people died.
Well, in terms of the After Dark podcast network, it's been
best year ever, yeah.
Yeah. We've smashed all listener figures. We're the biggest Disney theme park podcast in Europe.
You get me.
Yeah.
On too many podcasts, but other than that, it's all right.
We've got a little family going on with our listeners, and we've got Dad's Army. We've got all our new members in the team. We've got little offshoots going on left, right, and centre. We've got a published author. We've got a vlogger, a blogger, and a bugger.
And a tugger.
And a tugger, yeah.
Yeah. The only way is up, as Yazoo once saying.
Yeah, she did.
And on that bombshell, we'll see you in the future.
Whenever that is.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast.